is on stability and economics.
Yeah, I think we'll discuss the first map with the green color. I think that's for Morocco, but it's simply another way of saying go to Morocco because Morocco is our friendly country and don't go to Egypt or to any other country. So you have to be aware of the fact that people who put study states, people who put studies, they put lots of money in that. So they do that for
yes, but that's why I didn't take any studies that were done by Moroccans or from Morocco or anyone that were made
by friends of Morocco.
The British Foreign Affairs Office?
Possibly, yeah.
Anyone else should add more comments? You, then you. Okay, the one in blue.
Okay, so we go same way with our beloved professor, Mr. Fidel, and showing the three main compounds or elements. First one is political stability, and the second one, economic growth, and the third one is the scientific research. Concerning the second one, economic growth. Who told you, or how did you come to the central conclusion that we have economic growth?
You can look up the GDP of the country, which
no,
is
exactly. Sorry, it's something else. Something else GDP. Do you have any accurate or appropriate statistics that show, well, Morocco has an appropriate, comfortable economic zone, or it has that sort of economic growth which has been produced during the recent years.
And I think she spoke about the GDP, which is a very good statistics, because that's given by the World Bank and the FMI.
Okay, well, how can you explain the increase
International Monetary Fund?
Okay, I agree with that. But how can you explain the increase of the percentage in employment, for example, or
that's not how they calculate the GDP. If they see how much money the country makes, they see if there is a growth in the businesses and in the money that's needed, and they divide that by the number of people. They don't divide it based on how much you have or how much you are going to have. They see we have this amount of people, this amount of money, they divide it and they say,
okay, what about the GDP achieved? Is it about the previous year?
I didn't see the date, but it should be.
What was the GDP? Was it
the one that I used is from 2015 with the predictions of the UNESCO, and it is the predictions were right. It's reached 4 points, which is positive for a country in our situation.
What I wanted to say is that there could be too many poor people, but because there's a lot of money, if the money is not divided appropriately among these people, they still divide it among people to give you the statistics. Although the reality, there could be simply a minority who are probably benefiting from the money.
So it's a problem of the policy, how we use the money.
Possibly. Now, what I'm explaining is how the GDP is being calculated. They give you the number of the population, the demographics of the country, plus the amount of money made by that, and they give you your GDP. And they give you the results. It's being multiplied by 20%.
I think I know
that's
what
a different
you
issue. The way we did it is a different issue, but the calculations are
also considered as a problem. Problematic issue.
Oh, yes.
I mean, when it comes to talking about the economic growth, I mean, distribution of money or any resource, if it's not fair for justice, I mean, superiority, state or superior authorities are not, fairly distributing or mobilizing the whole community of community. This is really at that time it's a very horrible.
Yeah, I agree with that. Overall, I think if you make more money this year or next year, I think the GDP is going to grow. The distribution of money is one issue, is a different issue. that if you make more money, then the GDP will grow, which means that you're probably making more. Your businesses are doing well, or probably exporting much, or so it means simply you're making more money.
Yes, but we can't exclude this in export. The distribution is important.
Oh, yeah.
So how can you say that?
I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm simply explaining to you how we distinguish between the GDP and the distribution of wealth.
Sorry, you, sir, thank you.
First of all, thank you for this brilliant presentation. The subject is very interesting. I have a comment on. I just want to comment that financial support for students and researchers. You know, in the domain of science and particularly in different fields of science, there is a lot of updates. Every day there is something new to know. These updates, they are published in international reviews and periodicals. So there is international platforms on the internet like Stranger Link and Science Direct, like that. These articles, you know, they are not free. We have to pay for them. So in international, so in Western countries that they respect themselves, they buy these articles for their students or researchers, or just they give their students some passwords to access this article. But in our situation, you have to find these articles by yourself, or just they don't encourage you, they don't motivate you, and consequently there is a lack of production of science in our country. You know, when a country doesn't help their students or researchers to access some international articles so they can know what's new in their fields, so they can build some new ideas on that articles, some new things on that based on what they have read. Consequently, there is a lack of production of science.
Exactly. I think this concept was applied in l'Institut Français, because I was there last year, and they gave their clients, I mean those people who take French courses, to some passwords to access to an online encyclopedia with different kind of knowledge. So I think this is a good idea, and I think that other institutions should opt for it. And thank you. And now I'm going to see Mr. Bia.
I just have two tiny comments. First of all, for this young gentleman here about the GDP. Actually, the GDP can't be falsified because it's done by world banks and the national Moroccan Bank and the national World Bank. And the second one is for Hannah about the GDP. It's not really stable in Morocco because 2015's GDP it has this economical growth thanks to agriculture, because it was a rainy year, and that's really why it has grown. Another thing, for this, I think it's a really good thing, and I think comparing us to really big countries like the United States, Turkey, especially Turkey. I mean, Morocco has this commercial deficit. It's I mean, it's sorry.
No problem.
Morocco has a commercial deficit, so it can't really spend much money on scientific research, other than other things.
Yes, but the field it gives back. When you spend on scientific research, it's going to affect everything else.
But
it's very big if we put the money on that fund to give back more than it would if we use it on other fields.
I completely agree with you. But it gives back at a long period. For example, I mean, countries that are now powerful they invested in education. After education, they invested in science researchers. But first, they were economically powerful. They didn't have the problems that Morocco has now, or the other generations.
I agree.
Thank you. I will give the floor to Ilyas, then our professor.
Okay, first of all, I would like to thank all the participants in these intellectual discussions, especially Mr. Murad, who is a candidate for a doctorate in medical faculty. As I know, he does always condemn and denounce his scarce access to international articles and so on. As a question, I mean, I would formalize out of existence a critical question, if not a philosophical one, about science in itself. So what is, or I can say, what do we mean by science? Since both questions are reflected in a very broad and profound dimension. Is there an answer to honor and to satisfy our endeavors with the notion of the concept of?
When we're talking about science, we're using it like a term to talk about research, invention, creativity in several fields like astronomy, medicine, engineering, anything that involves creation. That's what we mean here. And we also mean the layman's ability to process these things instead of being completely computed. The advancements that have been happening in the recent years. That's what we mean here by science. We don't mean like biology only or science of Earth, like we say in high school. And we also don't mean science as the department that, you know, how we choose in high school between letters and science. We don't mean just that. We mean that every field that has to do with critical thinking and scientific thinking and research.
So far, we have just mentioned or sketched the components of science. I mean, we did not give a accurate and a meticulous definition to the concept of science.
Because that's going to take way longer than this.
I mean, the question is not addressed to you only, but to these highly opinionated participants in this discussion.
I think
for instance, Mr. Ibrahim has much to do with this.
Yes, but before we might see our professor, Mr. Lebach.
Thank you. Well, in fact, thank you for the talk. I feel very sad because I'm going to undermine your interesting talk. And I should say that your talk was interesting before the 1950s, but not now. Because today, it used to be said, we have the three principles of development of our country. We said political stability, economics, and science, and protection of nature. That's very interesting and very important. And nowadays, what's happening today is that most people are denouncing science or scientific research altogether, because they have realized that this damage to nature that humanity is witnessing is really terrible. And if you check, in the United States, American universities, you see that most universities, 95%, are encouraging environmental studies instead of scientific studies. Vonnegut, the famous writer novelist, writing in 2007, used to make tours in American universities, encouraging students not to specialize in science, but to specialize in literature instead. Because he told them science would teach you to create weapons, and we have enough wars so far. So, in fact, he managed to convince a lot of students to value literature more than science. So, the protection of nature today, I think if you just on the net you check about environmentalism or
ecological criticism or whatever, you will see that most people in developed countries do not really like the results that science has led us to. And they feel that the more now we think of our environment, the more our life will be more comfortable. We think that technological development has given us a lot of comfort, but in fact it has destroyed a lot of beautiful things that humans used to have. And I think the terrible consequences that the world is, or the environment in general, is living may warn us against this kind of extolling science or encouraging people to specialize in science, or to maybe you say to feel sorry that the government does not research what and does not encourage anything at all. Like, if you are maybe if there was a science called nonsense, our government would encourage people to specialize in nonsense. That's the point. But I think nowadays, I don't mean to undermine your talk, but nowadays we are more concerned about our environment more than we are concerned about research development. But I sympathize with you, because in Morocco we always feel that we are too late, and we talk a lot about things that people have really said, no, we don't need that anymore. We need to think of something new. So what is happening today in the world, I'm afraid, undermines your talk. But I find it interesting anyway.
Can I reply?
Yes, please.
I don't think science and environment are mutually exclusive. I mean, when we talk about science in the 21st century, we're not talking about 19th century industrialization. We're not talking about chopping down forests to build factories to dump chemicals in the rivers. We're talking about environment-friendly technology. We're talking about science that will help us find solutions for problems that maybe previous generations caused to our environment. I mean, NASA, for example, that's like one of the biggest accomplishments of 21st century science, and it's not harming environment as much as it's helping it. It's studying the environment that we have. The very people who are trying to protect the environment right now, and trying to find environment-friendly solutions for what we have, like electric cars, like environment protecting methods. These are all scientists and inventors and researchers and creators. So I don't think science, when we're talking about it, we're talking about things that are made to harm environment or are made to benefit us as humans and harm environments. We can, with the proper science, with the proper guidance for the people who are giving these tools, inventors, creators, I think we can do for our environment better than previous generations have done. And of course, again, it's all about the guidance. If you give the wrong government money for scientific research, they're going to spend it on the army, on creating new weapons, on creating new weapons of destruction, instead of new medicine and new methods of helping lives and such.
Okay, but I think there are some powerful institutions behind making of technology and science a commercial benefit. It's not simply a question of whether protecting nature or not, but how much money could they earn from that. I don't think nowadays, for example, if you take the cell phone, you can say, oh, there is evidence enough that that cell phone is harmful to nature and to people, to humans. And even the companies who have invented this, exactly, we have given that protects against the harm, but we don't want to publish it to people. We for fear that this will affect their material gains. So that's the logic. We are talking about a logic that is more humane. But those people on top or behind the scenes do not consider these humane considerations.
Thank you. I think Mr. Bush wants to say something.
Well, that's another contribution to this important debate to what Mr. ABS has said at the beginning. When you mentioned the question of colonialism and imperialism and so on, I think we are neglected this important aspect because, you know, colonialism of being responsible for much of our, let's say, scientific backwards and so on. Okay? Don't you see in the Arab world what they are doing, for instance, in Iraq, for instance, which was scientifically advanced. But they have destroyed that pieces, they have created a lot of wars, a lot of, you know, because they want us just to be just consumers and so on. And they have mentioned Israel, they have some motivation about this, you know. Of course, it is our enemy, we should know, I mean, what our enemy is achieving and so on. But don't you think that Israel, I mean, is supported by Western powers, especially the United States of America, and they may even venture to say that Israel is created, and in that strategic ways, just in order to keep the Arabs, you know, always backward and to create problems for them and so on. So I think we should have taken this question to this is very, very important. And also when you mentioned the question of theology, that is I mean, sort of focus on theology at the expense of science and so on. We should have explained a little bit, because in the Quran we have a lot of verses, I mean, which, I mean, it says we speak about science, we speak about, you know, the facts of trying to know, okay? It says, and so on. Okay? We have a lot of, you know, a lot of verses, I mean, which people need to think and then, okay, of the creation of the world and then, I mean, so we should not accuse religion as such.
No, I was talking about theologians.
Even if you were speaking about that period of history, but yet you need to say, I mean, theology at the expense of science, it needs some explanation, okay? And the question of imperialism have been neglected altogether.
I didn't want to go too
political
in it.
Because you were asked about, I mean, about the solutions. I think the first solution we may think about is to try to decolonize our nations. And also to decolonize our minds, because we are still, we are still following the footsteps of other nations, France, and so on. Just the example of the spread of the dominance of the French language in Morocco itself, okay, for instance. And then just later, and just having in Morocco some debates about, for instance, teaching scientific courses, for instance, in French rather than in Arabic or Spanish. So why not English? I mean, if not Arabic, okay, Arabic is not capable of doing this, and I think this is not a good point because, of course, Muslims and Arabs were much advanced in the past. So why not English instead of Arabic? I mean, instead of French, because just this is just what Elias has said, and we are still following the French, almost everything.
Yeah, right? France will not let you.
Yeah,
there are institutions which have been set up in place. Governments which have been set up in place. When we got our independence, we are actually the first seeds of the post-colonial period.
The first step is to decolonize ourselves. It is an important.
You cannot go Arabic. If you want to teach sciences in Arabic at the University of you can do that. And the reason is France would not let you.
Yeah. So
I mean, indirectly, it will not let you.
Which means we are still colonized and we need to decolonize ourselves. There are a very important by James Blue book called Decolonizing the Mind. Our minds are still colonized to a great extent, and so we need sort of decolonization in order to think about science and other things.
We are the chasse gardée of France. Morocco is a part of the French chasse gardée of France. They can't let us be free, even if we wanted to.
Yes.
Even if we have the means to be free, I think we still need to depend on France, because France, we are a very big market for France. That's one of the things. We are a big market for North Africans, ex-French colonies for a very big market for France, and it will not let go. That's why I think it will probably fight against the Americans if need be to not let Morocco go English or English.
Yes, I think this reminds me of when a certain minister just recently wanted to change the official language, second language, foreign language from French to English. It wasn't done.
That's one of the agendas of the Francophonie.
Yeah.
As an organization on Francophonie is a fight against the English spread, or the spread of English in ex-French colonies. So they can't let you be free, because you are their chasse gardée, as we said, their territory, and so you have to stay their market within their own I mean, have their own plans and have their own ambitions.
It's even scheduled for next year for Moroccans to study physics and mathematics in French.
Yeah,
People are converting to English.
Yes, in the high school, they're putting French again into
People, other countries are converting to English, to the language of science, and Morocco is still colonized with the Francophonian.
When we have only few, actually 5 minutes, please just say a brief comment if you have one. Rahim.
First of all, thank you for this eloquent and well-structured presentation. I want just to keep it simple and say, and question that the other aspects of this presentation, that is culture and media. How could media and culture actually help in any way to draw youth to participate or put their interest in science?
Culture, I think we don't have much of a hand in it and how to change it because it's the results of many years and many generations. You can't just come and change culture, but I think we can start by changing ourselves by prioritizing certain things that have to do with this, having more interest in science, demanding more science-related material in our schools and our activities that we're doing now, like the science festival that's done by this same association, and this scientific heritage forum, which again was done by Association Y. And when we make these events or help in these activities, we're showing that we're really interested in this topic, and we're showing that we want to be part of this scientific revolution that's going on around the world. And when it comes to media, I think it's a reflection of what the country prioritizes or what the country is interested in. When we change it, I think the interests of the people who watch, of the audience, are going to change as well. Mr. Dalal earlier said that people are not going to be interested in these documentaries. I think there are ways to make them more interesting. There are several documentaries that were made with the layman in mind. When we talk about Cosmos, for example.
Yeah, I would do.
Yeah.
These are really good ones.
Like Neil deGrasse Tyson's version of Cosmos, which airs right now in National Geographic Abu Dhabi. It's in Arabic, but it doesn't have that big of an audience in the Middle East or in the Arab world compared to the original one or to Cosmos, which is in English. Just the views of the episodes, the ones in English on YouTube, on the official channel of National Geographic, are far bigger than the episodes in Arabic, for example. And these documentaries were not made for intellectuals or high thinkers or scientists themselves. They're made for normal people, for laymen, and they're made to simplify complicated scientific things for the normal person. I think when we start to air these and implement them and make them more interesting for young people, for people our age and younger, maybe even older, I think that's when the change is really going to start. I think people are going to realize that we have a serious lack of these things. Maybe people are going to start asking for more when it comes to educational system, for example. They're going to start asking why we don't have the necessary material, why we don't have the necessary funding, why are we studying this in French? That's a good point. Why are we not studying it in English or Arabic or any way that would open horizons for us as scholars or as researchers?
One last comment. You over there?
Well, hello, my name is Elias. I want to make 2 points. The first one, let's take a look at history of the current developed countries. Europe, for instance, was so stuck with religion. The church was controlling everything. I think the key here is to get rid of the church. I mean, when religion takes over all our aspects of life, disasters happen.
I mean, just look at the current Islamic government. It's absolutely ruining everything. It is ruining the most two important sectors, health and education. It's been doing so for the last 3 years. So it's life and religion. That's my first point. And for lack of time, I'll move to the second one. I salute my fellow young citizen who spoke earlier about being in a post-colonial era. Yes, we are followers of France, and it's not a good leader to follow. French scientific institutions are currently failing. You know, the United States, Russia, China are taking over science. These are the examples we need to follow if we want to follow someone. Now science is written in English. The international conference are English language. Yes, it's English spoken. So we need to evaluate our current situation. Do we want to include religion in every aspect of life? And do we want to, for Morocco, follow a model that is failing or aspire to something that have created great successes? Well, thank you. That is my
Thank
comment.
you. Well, I'm running out of time. I'm sorry. And I've been told that we are running out of time.
That's the problem. We are evading to discuss such very fundamental and paramount issues. We should not make or let time be our obstacle in our process to deal with these issues. Let it be even until tomorrow. Who cares? Unless we should find a solution, an alternative, perhaps a decision to emancipate ourselves, to release ourselves from these chains and see the light. We should discuss these things actually. So the floor is open to everyone. Let's discuss.
I'll just comment you must say, concerning religion and whether it is the root cause of our problems. What about Turkey? It's a good movement. An Islamic government, but yet it's much advanced than so. So perhaps the question of religion being maybe we don't understand the religion itself. We know, for instance, Islam and within Islam and from the Islamic perspective, you cannot make any just let's say clear separation between politics and religion. Okay?
But Turkey is a secularist nation.
But the government which is there are Erdogan and so on for many years, and it has just been reelected.
Yes, but it's true that he's government is
but that's what I want to say. Example, just to show us maybe it's not the religion itself. The Muslims and so on. But
I think, well, yes, you can have an Islamic government and have scientific advancement as long as the science itself doesn't get interrupted by religion, as used to be in the golden age of science in the Islamic world. It was that way, actually. There were Islamic governors, it was an Islamic country, it was an Islamic, civilization, yet the scientific researchers, they weren't restricted by religion, for example.
There are limits to restriction. What I want to say is just that, first of all, I think it will be very, very difficult to make this in the Islamic world, discussion of clear that separation between politics and religion itself. So Islam is, at least in Islam, from within Islam, okay, and so on, okay, and so on, okay, it is the gun and the gun. So, and the problem is that if you want to achieve this, is very, very difficult. It's maybe a sort of,
I think Turkey achieved
which something cannot this, but let's speak about it, and then perhaps I think religion is not itself, okay? a problem. Maybe it's a bad interpretation of religion or understanding of religion. But what our friend is saying, I think it's very important to actually, even if you imagine, because it's not only it is, in people's minds and heart and blood. Okay, so it's very difficult to identify.
Excuse me, is it towards? Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Just two words. For example, a religious government, Israel, is a religious government. So it's here.
I just want to answer my friend there. So my friend here. Anyway, I just want to talk about. He said that Europeans, Western countries, then they eliminated the church to accomplish such things. That's what he meant, I think. I just want to say that we're not talking about the church here. We're talking about Islam. And you said that Islamic government. I think it's because of people, not Islam. Because just another thing is that the main goal of this forum, the heritage of scientific, it's actually about Muslims and the golden era of our religion, the Muslims. I saw something yesterday that melted my heart. I am a part of the organizing committee of this forum, and I saw a woman cry. She was actually crying. When I asked her why, she said that this is what we came from. We should rely on ourselves, on our heritage, not France, not Western countries, or not anything else. So that's my point. Thank you.
I have something to say.
Yes, okay, go ahead.
I think the intervention of our colleague has been misinterpreted in an advanced way, actually. He did not mean to separate ourselves from our population as much as the more scrupulous dimension. He said, the paradigm of Turkey, as an instance, we should separate imposing the ideological, ideas of Islam into the political stuff. I mean, Islam should remain as a kind of metaphysical affiliation between you and God. That should not. Don't you think that science doesn't the first right? Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, his intervention was misinterpreted somehow. These countries, these governments exploit us in the name of Islam. So we have to reassess
been said this way from the beginning.
It's what we were trying to say.
I understand because he should have said that from the people, from the government, and not from our religion.
The same time,
our religion says completely different, and I think everyone here agrees with me.
Have you ever heard Erdogan?
Yes,
sustaining or encouraging people to vote for him on the name of Islam?
No.
So that's.
Well, I'm sorry.
It's not. It's the pride. It's kind of the pride of Muslim countries at our time. It's the sixth economy in Europe. I mean, it has a debt of like $9 billion in just 20 years ago. And look where it is now. Because why? Because they rely on their own language, Turkish. They even study in Turkish. If you go there and you want to study something, you can choose whether English or Turkish. One mandatory year to study against your will. You can't go there and study something without studying Turkish. They are promoting their own they only say language, and language has a lot in it. The culture, the habits, and everything, and that's why they are going in the right way. They're not.
So up to this moment.
Excuse me, I have to interrupt.
There is, I mean, a question that what is this?
Just excuse me. No. I have outside that is very proud. So please let me finish this, please. That was a great discussion. Thank you for coming, and we hope to see you in the Please do not forget our page on Facebook. Thank you.